नमस्कार। विश्व के सबसे बड़े प्रजातांत्रिक राष्ट्र भारत का संसद भवन नई दिल्ली की सबसे शानदार इमारतों में से एक है। इसमें वास्तुकला के भव्यतम नमूनों की जैसी श्रृंखला है, वैसी संसार के बहुत कम देशों में है। राजधानी आने वाले यात्री आमतौर पर इस भवन को अवश्य देखते हैं, क्योंकि संसद के दोनों सदन, लोकसभा और राज्यसभा, इसी भवन के अंदर हैं। और ये विहंगम दृश्य संसद भवन का भव्य गुंबद जो सेंट्रल हॉल में है। लाल कालीन सजे हुए हैं और ये भव्य गुंबद केंद्रीय कक्ष सेंट्रल हॉल का, इस गुंबद का व्यास 98 फुट या 29.87 मीटर है। कहा जाता है यह संसार के भव्यतम गुंबदों में से एक है। सेंट्रल हॉल का ऐतिहासिक महत्व है। 15 अगस्त 1947 को अंग्रेजों से भारतीयों को सत्ता का हस्तांतरण इस हॉल में किया गया था। अब से कुछ ही देर बाद महामहिम राष्ट्रपति प्रतिभा देवी सिंह पाटिल संसद के दोनों सदनों को संबोधित करेंगी और संसद सदस्य यहां पहुंच चुके हैं। काफी गहमा गहमी इस समय और सभी को प्रतीक्षा महामहिम राष्ट्रपति के आगमन की। कोमल।
Thank you, Pradeep. Yes, we're bringing you live pictures of an inside view of Central Hall, which is located at the center of Parliament House. Its walls have stood in mute testimony to so many historic moments. In the words of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, our tryst with destiny began here on the midnight of the 14th and 15th of August 1947. Our Constitution was framed here by the Constituent Assembly. And on the walls of Central Hall, regal portraits, gilded portraits of so many of our national leaders and eminent people whose memories and contributions are deeply cherished by the nation. The dome, of course, is one of the most spectacular that can ever be seen. We have members of the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha here now inside the hall. In a short while from now, the President of India, Mrs. Pratibha Devi Singh Patil, will deliver her address in this historic central hall. In fact, according to the Constitution, at the commencement of the first session after each general election and at the first session of each year, the President shall address both houses of Parliament together and inform Parliament of the causes of its summons, unquote. This is a portrait of Gandhiji above the dais from where the President will deliver her address. Anthuriums, lilies, carnations, orchids and gladioli and roses so elegantly arranged on the dais. And in fact, at the base of the dais are inscribed the words, "The Constituent Assembly of India met in this hall from December the 9th, 1946 to January the 24th, 1950. So wonderfully reminiscent of historic memories.
कोमल, यहां एक बात हम अपने दर्शकों को जरूर बताना चाहेंगे, क्योंकि इसमें सरकार की नीति का विवरण होता है, जो अभिभाषण होता है। इसलिए अभिभाषण का प्रारूप सरकार द्वारा तैयार किया जाता है, जो इसकी विषय वस्तु के लिए उत्तरदायी होती है। इसमें पिछले वर्ष के सरकार के कार्यकलापों और उपलब्धियों की समीक्षा होती है और महत्वपूर्ण आंतरिक और विद्यमान अंतर्राष्ट्रीय समस्याओं के संबंध में सरकार द्वारा अपनाई जाने वाली नीतियों का निरूपण होता है। और कुछ ही देर बाद महामहिम राष्ट्रपति दोनों सदनों को संबोधित करेंगे। लोकसभा में विपक्ष के नेता लालकृष्ण आडवाणी और अन्य गणमान्य व्यक्ति यहां मौजूद केंद्रीय कक्ष में काफी देर से यहां आना शुरू हो चुका था। और अब राष्ट्रपति महोदय के अंगरक्षक, घुड़सवार अंगरक्षक।
Yes, Pradeep, this is the President's bodyguard. The Commandant of the regiment is Colonel Akashdeep Bhanot. On his Mount Faryad, the second in command, Lieutenant Colonel Ravinder Narwal on Virat, escorting the President's car now to gate number 5. That's at the northwest portico. And the ceremonial escort has two divisions, Risaldar Major Shri Bhagwan and Risaldar Sukhbir Singh. And the regimental colours are carried by Risaldar Balkar Singh. First, there'll be the national salute given by the President's bodyguard. The President's motorcade now slowly approaching gate number 5, from where the presidential procession will begin and end in the Central Hall of Parliament. The car about to come to a halt now, behind a resplendent bodyguard discharging their ceremonial duty. The President of India alighting from her car, Mrs. Pratibha Devi Singh Patil. The Vice President of India and the Chairman of the Rajya Sabha, that was Mr. Muhammad Hamid Ansari. The national salute. The national salute sounded by the bugler of the President's bodyguard. And now the presidential procession forming up to proceed to Central Hall. The route of the presidential procession elegantly decorated with flowers of so many varieties and hues and a carpet of red. Everywhere marigolds and rose petals, carnations and lilies. Perfectly manicured lawns meeting with a spread of red, down which the presidential procession is now coming on its way to Central Hall. First we have the ADCs. Behind the ADCs, the Secretary General of the Lok Sabha, PDT Acharya, and the Secretary General Rajya Sabha, VK Agnihotri. Then the Speaker of the Lok Sabha, Mr. Somnath Chatterjee. Mr. Pranab Mukherjee, External Affairs Minister, discharging the ceremonial duty for the Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, who is convalescing.
कोमल, यहाँ एक और महत्वपूर्ण बात है जिसे मैं जरूर बताना चाहूंगा। एक साथ संयुक्त संसद के दोनों सदनों में राष्ट्रपति का अभिभाषण संविधान के अधीन एक गरिमापूर्ण और औपचारिक कार्य है। इस अवसर के अनुकूल अत्यधिक गरिमा और शालीनता अपनाई जाती है। उपराष्ट्रपति मोहम्मद हामिद अंसारी वे भी इस वक्त अगुवाई करते हुए महामहिम राष्ट्रपति की।
The President on her way now to Central Hall in this presidential procession. Behind her, Mr. Pranab Mukherjee and the Minister of Parliamentary Affairs, Mr. YLR Ravi. Behind them, we have the Secretary to the President, Dr. Christy Fernandez, and then the Military Secretary to the President, Lieutenant General Vinod Chopra. Meanwhile, a marshal inside the Central Hall will announce the arrival of the President. This will be when the procession enters the gangway of Central Hall. The arrival of the President will also be signified by the sound of two trumpeters. They'll play a fanfare. They're positioned inside the Central Hall. And all members now standing. In fact, all the members will remain standing till the procession bifurcates, and then the President and Chairman of the Rajya Sabha and the Speaker of the Lok Sabha will move to their chairs on the dais, whilst the others will go to their designated seats. As soon as the President, Mrs. Pratibha Devi Singh Patil, reaches her seat, a band positioned in the Central Hall will play the national anthem. The President will then address the members.
Honorable members, I convey my good wishes to you and to all our people. On behalf of all of us, let me greet Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh. We are happy that he is recuperating fast. We wish him a speedy recovery for continuing with his onerous responsibilities. I also convey my special greetings to members of our security forces keeping vigil to protect us. We have been through an eventful year, a year that challenged our open society and our open economy, a year that tested by fire the principles that our country has always lived by: communal amity, tolerance, compassion, justice, and peaceful existence. Looking back, we see hope. We have not only withstood the challenges but also emerged stronger. The spirit of ordinary people rising together as one overcame the challenge to our nation from terrorist violence. The calibrated and prudent economic reform pursued by our government is helping us to weather the extreme adversities of the global economic meltdown. In both these disruptive events, it was our abiding commitment to the principles of democracy that has been our strength. Our economic reform was catalyzed through our deliberative democracy. Challenges to our nationhood were again thwarted by our functioning democracy. The record turnout of people in Jammu and Kashmir to cast their votes in the elections to the State Assembly in a peaceful atmosphere was a resounding affirmation of their faith in democracy and a rejection of terrorism and violence. The elections have brought new hope to the people of that state. Our functioning democracy has set for my government exacting standards to judge its performance. People measure government not on the basis of what it says, but on the basis of what it does. In a democracy, Government is measured on a simple maxim: aam aadmi ko kya mila? When democratic, secular, progressive forces came together in this government, it sought to make itself accountable to the people through a national common minimum program. Today, after close to 5 years in office, my government believes that it has acted on nearly all the commitments made to the people through the National Common Minimum Program. The commitment to inclusive development articulated in the NCMP has been translated into laws, policies, and programs by my government. A right to work for people in our rural areas was guaranteed through the National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. The Unorganized Workers Social Security Act 2008 will facilitate provision of social security for 43 crore unorganized workers. Through the Act on Right to Information, government has been held accountable to citizens for governance. Through the Scheduled Tribes and Traditional Forest Dwellers Act, historical injustice to tribes and traditional forest dwellers was corrected to confer land rights. The Central Educational Institutions Reservation and Admission Act ensured reservation to students of other backward classes in educational institutions. A bill on right to education, a bill for amending the Land Acquisition Act, along with a new bill for rehabilitation and resettlement and a constitution amendment bill providing for reservation for women in Lok Sabha and state legislatures stand introduced in Parliament. The National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, which now covers the whole country, is the first such intervention anywhere in the world where a country has guaranteed employment for a specified number of days to any category of citizens. In 2007-2008, nearly 3.4 crore rural households were provided employment under this program. Out of those provided work, 55% belong to scheduled tribes and scheduled castes, and 49% was women. Over 46 lakh works have been taken up under the program so far, of which 19 lakh have been completed. Water conservation, irrigation, and land development account for 83% of the work in 2008-2009, contributing to agricultural productivity. It has consolidated grassroots democracy working through panchayats. Payments under the program are being effected through post office and bank accounts, which now hold nearly 6 crore account holders, making it a remarkable case of financial inclusion. This program is keenly watched all over the world as an Indian innovation in combining the twin objectives of providing for consumption expenditure of the poor as well as improving rural productivity and income. Results of the program in the last 3 years show increased agricultural productivity, reduced migration, and increase in wage rates for agricultural employment across the country. As India is entering the 60th year of Republic, the National Rural Employment Guarantee Act is moving India towards a republic of work. Along with the National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, the Social Security framework has been further strengthened through introduction of the Aam Aadmi Bima Yojana, the Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana, and the revamped Indira Gandhi National Old Age Pension Scheme, now extended to all old persons below the poverty line. My government promised a new deal to rural India through the revival of agriculture, on which nearly 60% of our population is dependent. Through carefully crafted policies in the agricultural sector, we have been able to revive our agricultural economy from the trap of low investment, low productivity, and rural indebtedness. My government increased by threefold the credit to agriculture from rupees 87,000 crore in 2003-2004 to rupees 2,43,000 crore in 2007-2008. Short-term agricultural credit was made affordable at 7% through an interest subvention. My government waived around rupees 65,000 crore of outstanding credit owed by 3.7 crore farmers who had fallen on bad times to revive their credit cycle. Remunerative prices were given to farmers through unprecedented enhancement in the minimum support price, which was raised from rupees 630 in 2004 to rupees 1,080 per quintal in 2009 for wheat, and from rupees 550 per quintal in 2004 to rupees 900 including bonus in 2008 for paddy. The efforts to create a unified national market through changes in the Agricultural Produce Marketing Committee Acts bore fruit. Investment in agriculture has increased from 10.2% to 12.5% of the GDP. Agricultural diversification was promoted through the National Horticulture Mission, and the National Rainfed Area Authority was set up to provide technical assistance to increase production from dry lands. A Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana with an allocation of rupees 25,000 crore and a National Food Security Mission with an outlay of rupees 4,822 crore have been put in place to increase production and crop productivity. Special attention was given to distress-affected districts through a special package. A special package was also extended to farmers growing plantation crops. My government ensured that the interests of our farmers were fully protected in the protracted negotiations in the World Trade Organization. Fertilizer is a very crucial input for our farmers. Owing to the unprecedented increase in prices of crude oil and chemicals in the international market, the prices of fertilizers had increased manifold. My government, however, did not increase the price of fertilizers even once in the last 5 years. At the same time, steps are being taken to secure supply of fertilizers from abroad at reasonable prices through investments by Indian companies in fertilizer unit abroad. A special purpose vehicle called Urvarak Videsh Limited has been incorporated for this purpose. As a result of concerted efforts, this year the agriculture sector has grown by 4.5%. Production has increased in almost all crops between 2004 and 2008. In the case of wheat, it has gone up from 68 million tons in 2004 to 78 million tons in 2008. In the case of paddy, from 83 million tons in 2004 to 96 million tons in 2008. In the case of cotton, from 164 lakh bales in 2004 to 258 lakh bales in 2008. And in the case of soybean, from 68 lakh tons in 2004 to 99 lakh tons in 2008. Through the Farmers First policy, the country has been able to achieve record production of food grains of 230.67 million tons in 2007-2008 and ensure food security. The gaps in rural infrastructure that denied opportunities for farm and rural non-farm employment have been systematically addressed through Bharat Nirman, our time-bound plan for rural infrastructure. Under Bharat Nirman, 5.6 million hectares have been brought under irrigation. The Accelerated Irrigation Benefit Program have assisted states to complete ongoing irrigation projects. My government initiated a major program for repair, renovation, and restoration of water bodies to augment community-level water security. At the same time, 14 major irrigation projects have been taken up as national projects and are being assisted with 90% grant from Government of India. Through consensus created with states, the river interlinking projects like Ken Betwa, Par Tapi Narmada and Daman Ganga Pinjal have moved ahead. Under the Rural Roads Program, work on 25,000 villages has been completed to provide market connectivity to farmers. over 50,000 villages have been provided electricity under the Rajiv Gandhi Gramin Vidyutikaran Yojana. Today, 98% of our villages have telephone connectivity and mobile telephony is spreading fast in the rural India. Under the Indira Awas Yojana component of Bharat Nirman, 60 lakhs houses were to be built, and this target has already been achieved with another 16 lakh under construction. Rural water supply coverage and funding under the program have considerably increased. Bharat Nirman has served to integrate rural India more centrally into the growth process and unlock its potential. Lack of adequate health care has been a major cause of rural poverty. My government initiated a national rural health mission, which is now radically transforming health care provisions in our villages. A major network of over 6 lakh accredited social health activists or ASHAs has been created to attend a basic health needs of rural household. Rural public health infrastructure of sub-health centers, primary health centers, and community health centers has also been considerably strengthened. The success of these efforts is evident from the fact that institutional delivery has gone up 7-fold since the mission commenced, thereby reducing maternal and infant mortality. There is still a long way to go. The campaign for total sanitation in rural areas, vitally important for health, has seen unprecedented success, increasing coverage from 27% in 2004 to 60% by January this year. The sanitation campaign received a boost through the Nirmal Gram Puraskar, which has been awarded to 17,969 panchayats, and Sikkim has become the first Nirmal Gram state in the country. Separate departments have been set up for medical research and AIDS control, and the Food Security Standards Authority has become functional to ensure consumer protection. Government is considering setting up a national urban health mission to focus on the rural needs, on the health needs of the urban poor, commencing with selected major cities. Drugs and pharmaceuticals play an important role in healthcare. My government has set up an independent department of pharmaceuticals and has taken up effective steps to keep the prices of essential and life-saving drugs in check. Public sector undertakings which had been set up to manufacture critical drug formulations and antibiotics have been revived. In order to promote education and research in pharmaceuticals, the government has set up national institutes of pharmaceutical education and research at 6 places. The gaps in educational facilities in the elementary education stand substantially met through the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. There is near universal coverage of primary education. The focus is now on enhancing quality. Enrollment has increased from 15.6 crore children in 2004 to 18.5 crore in 2008. The number of children out of school has come down from 320 lakh in 2004 to 76 lakhs in 2008. The midday meal program implemented by my government as an incentive for retention of children in schools covered 15 crore children last year. Over 8 lakh teachers have been recruited with the support provided to states through the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. To meet the demand generated through near universalization of elementary education, my government has announced an equally ambitious program for secondary education through the Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan, and 6,000 model schools as exemplars of quality are also being set up throughout the country. Government has been focusing on empowering women through microfinance. Under the Swarn Jayanti Gram Swarajgar Yojana, self-employment of women is promoted. About 31 lakh self-help groups have been set up, of whose membership 2/3 are women. My government is considering the recommendations of the Committee of Governors for speedy socio-economic development and empowerment of women. Infants and children below 6 need special attention. Universalization of integrated child development services programs has been given a very high priority, and nearly 11 lakh habitations have now been covered. The coverage of children has doubled over the last 4 years, and nearly 8 crore children and mothers are now receiving supplementary nutrition. While steps are being taken to further expand and strengthen this important program, my government has also established a National Commission for the Protection of Children's Rights. Social inclusion has been strengthened by my government through programs targeted at specific categories like scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, other backward classes, and minorities. Education is the key to empowerment of these sections. Ongoing scholarship programs have been significantly expanded with revision of norms. Each year, about 6.5 lakh students, mainly from families of Safai Karmacharis, will be given pre-matric scholarships. Nearly 10.50 lakh students belonging to scheduled tribes and 35 lakh students belonging to scheduled caste will be given post-matric scholarships. Pre- and post-matric scholarship will be given to 25 lakh students from other backward classes. Several new scholarship schemes have also been instituted for these categories. The Rajiv Gandhi Fellowship Program assists students belonging to scheduled caste and scheduled tribes for pursuing research studies at MPhil and doctoral levels. On an average, 8 lakh students from minority communities will be covered each year under 3 new scholarship schemes. To promote girls' education, around 11 lakh scholarship would be given each year. Under the scheme for early attraction of talents for science, each year 2 lakh scholarship will be given. Another scholarship scheme for college and university students will benefit 82,000 students every year. Over 1 crore of students will now begin to get scholarship each year through all these schemes. For the first time, reservation in educational institutions was extended to other backward classes by my government. To further strengthen social and economic inclusion of minority communities, my government set up the new Ministry of Minority Affairs and announced the Prime Minister's new 15-point program for the welfare of minorities. The Sachar Committee set up by government examined the status of Muslims in a comprehensive manner to enable the government to respond to relative gaps in development attainments. Through the initiatives of government, close to 8 lakh students belonging to minority communities would be provided scholarships this year itself. The coverage will go up to nearly 40 lakh students over the next 4 years. More than 10,000 new primary schools and upper primary schools have been constructed in areas that have substantial minority concentration. Entrepreneurs from minority communities have been provided assistance under the Swarn Jayanti Gramin Swarozgar Yojana. Under Indira Awas Yojana, 2.39 lakh houses have been allotted to minorities during 2008-2009. The flow of credit to minorities has increased sharply and is expected to go up to 15%. Public sector banks have opened more than 500 bank branches in minority concentration districts. With a view to bridging the development gaps in socio-economically backward districts with minority concentration, a multi-sectoral development program has been launched to cover 90 minority concentration districts of the country. The representation of minorities in public services, paramilitary forces, railways, banks, and financial institutions has considerably improved in the last 2 years. Needs for the disabled in society should become a central concern for any caring government. Mindful of the challenges faced by this category of people, my government has framed a national policy for persons with disabilities, which is now being implemented. In addition to special schools for the disabled, schools under the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan will provide for addressing the special needs of disabled children. Employment provision in public services to the disabled was made applicable to all India services. When my government came into office, the plight of weavers was alarming in many parts of the country. A comprehensive package consisting of provisions of technology, credit, and marketing support together with health insurance was extended to weavers. Cluster-based development plan are in operation. Under the Textile Upgradation Fund scheme, textile industry has been modernized to benefit from the post-quota regime. The rapid growth in industry and services is essential to provide the avenues for employment and required by our youth. My government has put in place appropriate policies which have promoted growth and employment opportunities. In particular, my government enacted the Special Economic Zones Act, which has already facilitated incremental investment of rupees 90,000 crore and generated direct and indirect employment for over 7 lakh persons. My government has constituted the Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor Development Corporation for developing an industrial corridor along the dedicated railway freight corridor between Delhi and Mumbai. The proposed industrial corridor will pass through 6 states of the country, and infrastructure facilities will be developed at an identified locations in consultation with the states concerned. My government has come out with a new policy for promoting investment in petroleum, chemicals, and petrochemical sector through development of investment regions. Significant progress has been made towards setting up petroleum, chemicals, and petrochemical investment regions in Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, and West Bengal. India is a nation of young people. India's demographic dividends can be realized only if the country invests in developing skills to make our youth employable. Through a planned investment in skill development, the country holds the potential to account for a fourth of the global workforce by 2022, when India will mark 75 years of its independence. My government has made skill development a major national priority and has put in place coordinated action for skill development through a National Council for Skill Development chaired by Prime Minister, a National Skill Development Coordination Board to synergize public and private streams for skill development, and a National Skill Development Corporation to promote private sector-led action have also been set up. India, realizing its potential in the new knowledge economy, is critically dependent on building institutions that nurture creativity and innovation. It is a tribute to the Nehruvian vision that the Indian Institutes of Technology set up in the early decades of our independence, led to India's emergence as global power in software development by the end of the century. My government has undertaken a second wave of investment in higher education through the creation of 8 new Indian Institutes of Technology, 7 Indian Institutes of Management, 5 Indian Institutes of Science, Education and Research, and 15 new central universities. The core of the 11th plan is knowledge investment with allocations growing fourfold. India sees knowledge as the strategic resource that will give it leadership, and this investment will serve that purpose. To attract and retain talent in institutions of higher learning, my government has radically restructured the pay scales of teachers in universities. The National Knowledge Commission set up by my government has been giving useful inputs for developing and sharing knowledge resources. Acting on its recommendations, a national knowledge network connecting major national knowledge institutions is being set up, and its first phase will become operational shortly. My government has taken several steps to promote science and technology. Creation of a new Ministry of Earth Sciences, promulgation of a new MAP policy, establishment of a national spatial data infrastructure, and introduction of the INSPIRE program to promote science education have been some of the highlights. Biotechnology, a sunrise sector, has seen an unprecedented growth of over 35%, and research has supported development of vaccines for health and new seeds for agriculture, vitally important to the common man. While pursuing frontier areas of science and technology like nanotechnology, robotics, and genomics, the government has also launched special efforts targeted for the disadvantaged through initiatives like the Open Source Drug Discovery Program and CSIR Project 800. Our scientists have demonstrated time and again that they have the capacity to be the best in the world. The successful placing into the lunar orbit of the Chandrayaan-1 spacecraft in November 2008 is a tribute to our talent pool in science and technology and heralded India's entry into a select group of countries that have successfully undertaken lunar missions. India has also successfully accomplished 18 missions, which included 8 launch vehicle missions and 8 satellites launched by the PSLV and GSLV. Data from our satellites is being extensively used for land and water resource management, monitoring of the environment, and the management of natural disasters. India's space technology has earned international acclaim and is being successfully marketed abroad on a commercial basis. The Right to Information Act has had a positive impact in making government more accountable and has been widely welcomed by the people. Information technology offers opportunities to transfer our democracy through electronic governance. My government has taken up a program for setting up 1 lakh common service centers providing services in the villages, and 25,000 of these have become functional. The Unique Identification Authority of India has been set up in order to generate and assign unique identification numbers for residents. This is important from the security perspective as also to improve the delivery of development and welfare schemes. My government believes that decentralized governance through Panchayati Raj and urban local bodies is the surest way to improving delivery of services and fostering inclusive development. The Ministry of Panchayati Raj set up for the first time at the central level accelerated the process of devolution of funds, functions and functionaries to Panchayat institutions. Through constant engagement with states and central ministries, the architecture of decentralized governance has been strengthened. The Backward Regions Grant Fund has been used to institutionalize district planning. Panchayat representatives are leading development activities at the local level. The second Administrative Reforms Commission set up by my government has given elaborate recommendations for governance reform, many of which have a bearing on decentralization. Streamlining the functioning of judiciary is essential for ensuring our people quick and affordable justice. My government has introduced a bill to establish a National Judicial Council to ensure accountability and transparency in the judicial system. It has already approved the proposal to increase the strength of High Court judges by 20%. The maximum number of judges in the Supreme Court, excluding the Chief Justice, has been increased from 25 to 30. District and subordinate courts are being computerized to improve their functioning. My government enacted the Gram Nyalayas Act to take justice closer to people. Recognizing the India's cities and small towns while being engines of economic growth were seriously deficient in civic infrastructure and services. My government launched the Jawaharlal Nehru National Urban Renewal Mission. This mission is the first major effort for a renewal of our urban areas. In 61 out of 63 cities covered under the mission, projects costing over rupees 40,000 crore are under implementation based on city development plans. Under this basic services programs, 11.7 lakh houses are being constructed to make housing affordable to the people, to the poor. Interest subsidy of 5% is also extended on home loans for promotion of housing for low-income groups in urban areas. My government initiated an urban transport policy under which public transport is being promoted. The metro in Delhi is being expanded to Gurgaon and Noida, and urban rail systems have been promoted in major cities like Kolkata, Mumbai, Bengaluru, Chennai and Hyderabad. States have also been provided with funds to purchase buses for their urban transport systems. My government has for the first time announced an integrated energy policy which lays down a roadmap to meet the demand for energy in all sectors of the economy in an efficient, economically viable and environmentally sustainable manner using different fuels and forms of energy. The policy not only meets the requirement of energy security but also provides an overall framework which is consistent with achieving the objective of inclusive growth. Coal is the main source of energy in the country. Besides expanding production in the public sector, my government has allocated 158 coal blocks with reserves of almost 40 billion tons to various government and private power, cement and sponge iron companies for captive use. A new coal distribution policy has been put in place and e-auction introduced to make coal accessible to all. Coal India Limited has been conferred Navaratna status for speedy project implementation. A bill has been introduced in the Parliament to amend the Mines and Minerals Regulation and Development Act to enable transparent allocation of coal blocks through competitive bidding. Coal to liquid project is being initiated to meet the rapidly growing need of liquid fuel in the country. Rates of royalty for coal and ignite have been significantly enhanced to ensure better revenue to resource-bearing states. My government has formulated a new national mineral policy in order to attract large investments in the latest technologies for prospecting and mining with due regard to the needs and sensitivities of the mineral-bearing states. During the last 4 years, 112 oil and gas discoveries have been made, significant amongst them being the discovery of gas for the first time in the ultra-deep water areas. The refining capacity has significantly increased and our exports of petroleum products have quadrupled from $6.6 billion in 2004-2005 to $26.8 billion in 2007-2008. Over 300 lakh new customers have been provided with LPG connections, thus recovering about 52% of the population, and 5 kg cylinders have been introduced for low-income customers. Government has constituted the Petroleum and Natural Gas Regulatory Board to protect the interests of customers and petroleum entities. Rajiv Gandhi Institute of Petroleum Technology has been established for studies and research in petroleum and energy sectors. A major initiative has been taken for the development of coal blades ultra mega power projects, each with a capacity of 4,000 megawatts with environment-friendly supercritical technology. 3 projects, that is Sun in Madhya Pradesh in 2007, Mudra in Gujarat in 2007, and Krishnapatnam in Andhra Pradesh in 2008 have already been handed over to the successful bidders and are at the implementation stage. The new hydropower policy 2008, which has been put in place, aims at providing a level playing field to private developers. The scheme envisages, in addition to the existing 12% free power for the host state, 1% free power for the local area development in the project area. For a period of 10 years from the date of commissioning of the project, 100 units of electricity per month would be provided by the project developer to each project affected family through the relevant distribution company. The Accelerated Power Development and Reforms Program has been restructured for implementation during 11th 5 Plan with revised terms and conditions and a total outlay of Rs 51,577 crore. The focus of the program is on actual demonstrable performance in terms of loss reduction in selected urban areas. My government has accorded importance to increasing the share of nuclear energy in our overall energy mix. 3 nuclear power units with a total capacity of 1,300 megawatts have been brought online. 6 more nuclear power units with a total capacity of 3,160 megawatts are in advanced stage of construction. We are committed to the 3-stage nuclear development program, ultimately leading to the large-scale utilization of thorium for energy production. A number of new technologies involving advanced heavy water reactors, high temperature reactors, and accelerator driven systems are also development as a part of our long-term program for development of nuclear energy. The 11th 5-year plan aims at raising the total annual investment in infrastructure from 5% of GDP to 9%. This will greatly enhance infrastructure development in our country. A country's industrial progress greatly depends on the volume of steel it produces. India is now the 5th largest producer of crude steel in the world and hopes to be the 2nd largest steel producing nation by 2015. The states of Orissa, Jharkhand, Karnataka, Chhattisgarh, and West Bengal are getting major investment to develop their steel industry. My government has expanded the network of roads in our country and improved the national highways. It has drawn up an ambitious plan for investing rupees 2,36,000 crore for upgradation of national highways involving a total length of about 34,000 kilometers. The Golden Quadrilateral connecting the 4 metropolitan cities is near completion. The north, south, and east-west corridors are expected to be completed during the next year. The Indian Railways has achieved record profits continuously over the last 4 years while maintaining efficiency and service standards. The new technologies adopted by the railways have increased safety and security of passengers. The Railway Protection Forces has been constituted as an armed force of the Union to augment the efforts of the states to protect and secure railway property and passengers. Construction of a dedicated freight corridor between Kolkata and Ludhiana on the eastern route and Mumbai and Dadri on the western route to augment the capacity of carrying freight traffic has been taken up. A special purpose vehicle, namely the Dedicated Freight Corridor Corporation of India Limited, has already initiated preparatory work on these projects. This project will use state-of-the-art technology and cover 2,700 kilometers at an estimated cost of rupees 28,000 crore. The expansion of the civil aviation sector and the growing air traffic is indicative of the modernization of India's economy. The number of people who travel by air nearly doubled from around 5.7 crore in 2004 to around 11 crore in 2008. Airport infrastructure is being modernized and world-class airports have come up in Hyderabad and Bengaluru, while work is in progress in Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, and Chennai. At the same time, 35 non-metro airports are being upgraded through the Airports Authority of India. The Airport Economic Regulatory Authority Act has been passed by the Parliament. My government has taken a number of steps to ensure that the reach of affordable telecom services is greatly enhanced. Through amendments to the law initiated by my government, faster expansion of mobile services in rural areas has been made possible through use of Universal Service Obligation Fund for such services. Today there is a phone connection for every 3 persons and the target is to provide 50 crore connection by 2010. The broadband policy launched by my government in 2004 has seen the number of broadband connections grow from a very low level to over 53 lakhs. While pursuing policies of economic development, my government has sought to ensure that there is no adverse impact on the environment. A new environment policy and a biodiversity action plan have been put in place to judiciously balance concerns of environment and development. Our flora and fauna need protection, and my government has taken several steps to protect the Indian tiger as well as all other species of wildlife. Our great rivers are also our national assets. My government has formulated a Green India mission to reforest 6 million hectares of degraded forests, making it one of the world's largest afforestation efforts. A compensatory afforestation fund bill locating resources for the program is under consideration of Parliament. River Ganga has a special place in the hearts of all Indians. Over the years, it has been felt necessary to look at the river as a totality and move from city-specific pollution abatement activities to a comprehensive development plan for the basin. My government has initiated steps to set up a Ganga River Basin Authority chaired by the Prime Minister with chief ministers of Ganga Basin states to comprehensively plan for reviving the Ganga and its bounty. My government has taken measures to face the challenges posed by climate change. India firmly believes in upholding the position articulated in the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, and the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities must determine responses of individual countries. India has already voluntarily expressed a commitment that its per capita emissions will never exceed the average of developed countries. A national action plan for climate change has been developed by my government, under which action will be taken forward through 8 national missions. These missions will collectively move the country on a path of sustainable development. The National Solar Mission to harness solar energy is one of these 8 missions. A mission on sustainable habitat will set green standards to guide future construction. These important missions are under finalization now. The National Institute on Abiotic Stress Management is being set up in Baramati in Maharashtra to address the impact of climate change on agriculture. My government is committed to promote renewable energy technologies and increase its share in the energy mix. India has achieved grid connected renewable power capacity of 13,740 megawatts, and a capacity addition of 14,000 megawatts has been targeted for the 11th plan. The world looks up to India for its cultural resources. The large number of cultural institutions in the country require financial support as well as professional leadership. My government has decided to alter the procedure of recruitment to ensure that professionals from the fields of art and culture get chosen to head the cultural. Government has cleared Kannada and Telugu as classical languages along with Tamil and Sanskrit declared earlier and will extend support for activities related to their development. India successfully moved a resolution which was unanimously adopted by the United Nations General Assembly to observe 2nd October as the International Day of Nonviolence. During the last 4 years, the country commemorated the 300th anniversary of the consecration of Sri Guru Granth Sahib, the 75th anniversary of Dandi March led by Mahatma Gandhi, centenary of Satyagraha, the 150th anniversary celebration of the First War of Independence, and the 2550th birth anniversary of Lord Buddha. These have been events recalling the wellspring of our composite culture that affords plurality of thought, tolerance, compassion, and quest for truth and freedom. The bedrock of our culture is a celebration of freedom and freedom of thought and expression of any attempt to force a closing of the Indian mind goes against the very ethos of being Indian. Such elements need to be fought and defeated. Economic resurgence has resulted in increased tourism opportunities for India. The Incredible India and the Atithi Devo Bhava campaigns, along with concerted efforts at improving accommodation, air travel, and travel facilitation, has been successful in attracting more tourists. Foreign tourist arrivals rose from 3.46 million in 2004 to 5.37 million in 2008, while foreign exchange earnings in the same period went up from US dollar 6.17 billion to US dollar 11.75 billion. India will host the Commonwealth Games in 2010. My government would spare no efforts to ensure its success. Under rupees 678 crore scheme, comprehensive and intensive sports training and exposure will be provided at national and international level to Indian sports persons. A national program called Panchayat Yuva Krida and Khel Abhiyan has also been launched to create basic sports infrastructure in village and block panchayats in the phased manner. My government has taken a number of steps for devolution of managerial and financial autonomy to the profit-making central public sector enterprises. As a result, the turnover and profits of the CPSEs have increased by about 45% and 22% respectively in the last 3 years. A board for reconstruction of public sector enterprises was established to advise on the revival and restructuring of sick and loss-making CPSEs. The government has approved the revival package for 34 sick and loss-making CPSEs involving an amount of more than rupees 14,000 crore based on the recommendation of the board. My government has also issued guidelines for the revision of pay scales of executives of the CPSEs after considering the recommendations of the second pay revision committee. The economic policies of my government has resulted in an unprecedented growth rate over 8.9% in the last 4 years, with the growth rate in the last 3 years exceeding 9%. Such growth has never been achieved before. This enabled my government to locate adequate resources to undertake development investment of an unprecedented scale, not only at the central government level, but also through increased assistance to state governments, which increased from rupees 186,000 crores in 2003-2004 to rupees 240,000 crore in 2007-2008. It also helped to implement the much awaited 6th pay commission recommendations for government employees, including defense personnel. My government's policies have ensured that even as India faces an economic slowdown, along with the rest of the world, our fundamentals are much better. India's domestic demand can inject fresh momentum to our economy. India's banks are well capitalized and face no threat that many banks face in other parts of the world. My government has taken serious measures to stimulate our economy at this juncture. These have been expeditiously announced: boost to infrastructure and special support to the worst affected sectors such as exports, micro, medium and small industries, housing and automobiles. My government has relaxed the constraints imposed by the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act to increase capital expenditure by the state governments. These measures will drive the demand for goods and services, reviving production activities in the manufacturing as well as services sector. Even in the prevailing adverse global economic environment, our economy, it is hoped, will still register a relatively high growth rate. Honorable members are aware that the sharp increase in global commodity prices, especially those of petroleum and food, had an adverse impact on our economy. This shock was in large measure absorbed by the government and the citizens insulated. This also required that government put in place several fiscal and monetary measures to contain inflation. As a result of these actions, my government has been able to bring down the rate of inflation from 12% in September 2008 to around 5 to 6% in January 2009. The prices of petrol and diesel and LPG have also been reduced to provide relief to the common man. The nation faced multiple internal security challenges. The country witnessed terrorist attacks in several cities in growing levels of sophistication and assistance from outside the country. Several innocent lives have been lost. The terrorist attack in Mumbai as well as the terrorist incidents in Delhi, Ahmedabad, Hyderabad, Jaipur, Bengaluru and Assam, and before that on our embassy in Kabul were an assault on all values that our country stands for. The attack in Mumbai was deliberately planned to retard our economic progress. My government is heartened by the international support it has received after these attacks. There is greater appreciation in the international community of the threat that exists to the region and the world from the terrorism emanated from Pakistan. I salute the members of security forces, including members of the state police forces, who face grave challenges from terrorists, left-wing extremists, and insurgent groups, and resolutely defend the integrity and sovereignty of our country. Many of them have made the supreme sacrifice and laid down their lives, most recently in the attacks in Mumbai. We share the grief of their families, and my government will ensure that they are adequately compensated so that they can lead normal lives. My government has strengthened the country's internal security to protect people from much mindless acts of violence. The National Investigation Agency has been established to deal with terrorism. The Unlawful Activities Prevention Act has been amended to deal with terrorist offenses and terrorist organizations. These measures have strengthened the legal and investigative framework to tackle terrorist forces. While arming the internal security apparatus with these powers, all care would be taken to afford legal procedures and prevent any misuse of such power. A comprehensive plan has been drawn up to strengthen maritime and coastal security against threats from sea. Left-wing extremism remained a major concern in several states. My government has adopted a holistic approach to tackle this problem in close coordination with the affected states through modernization of police forces and better implementation of socio-economic development programs for the most backward regions. Similarly, several initiatives were taken to deal with the problem of insurgency in the Northeast. The general situation in the Northeast has improved significantly over the last 4 years. Efforts have been made to initiate a dialogue process with various groups who abjure violence and with the aim of bringing them into the national stream. To address the infrastructure deficit of northeastern states, a special accelerated road development program targeted to provide inter-region, interstate and district level roads connectivity totaling about 8,700 kilometers has been taken up. The 1,840 kilometer long Trans-Arunachal Expressway has been approved. Special emphasis has been given to the development of an alternate highway to Sikkim, and rail and air connectivity to the northeast states has been put on fast track. The Kaladan project will link Mizoram and northeast to the sea and open up the entire region. Along with infrastructure, expansion of educational activities in this region has been given high priority, with a central university in each state of the region. An Indian Institute of Management has already been set up in Shillong. For Jammu and Kashmir, my government has taken up a reconstruction plan under which rupees 24,000 crore is being invested in 67 projects. It aims at strengthening infrastructure and catering to other development needs of the three regions of Jammu, Kashmir, and Ladakh. The Baglihar hydroelectric project has been commissioned. Commencement of the first railway line in the valley has meant both physical and emotional connectivity for the people of the region with the rest of the India. Srinagar-Kargil Leh Road has been declared a national highway and its upgradation is in progress. Against this background, my government has reached out to the people resorting to violence to join the mainstream and work for the welfare and rapid development of Jammu and Kashmir. The protection of India's security and territorial integrity has received the highest attention of my government. Our armed forces have made the country proud with their sense of commitment, sacrifice, and professionalism. They have time and again come to the aid of civil authority in natural disasters as well as to combat insurgency in affected areas. Our long borders encompassing different geographical and climate conditions and terrains make it imperative to keep the armed forces in a state of full preparedness to face diverse challenges at all times. The modernization program of the armed forces is focused on state-of-the-art technology, network-centric warfare, and includes an integrated space cell to deal with the challenges posed by the militarization of space. Government stands committed to give financial support for modernization to the required extent. The action taken by the Indian Navy to deal with threats of piracy in the Gulf of Aden and to secure our sea lanes of communication have demonstrated our capacity and willingness to protect our interests. Our research and development efforts in the area of defense technology showed concrete results through launches of the Agni-1 and Agni-3 and other missiles. The main battle tank Arjun was productionized. Defense procurement procedures were continually reviewed and updated to ensure maximum transparency, economy of resources, and support for our indigenization efforts. India has the second largest diaspora in the world. The overseas Indian community, estimated at over 25 million, is spread across every major region in the globe. My government has taken a series of measures to improve the welfare of overseas Indians, particularly in the West Asia and the Gulf, and to create mechanisms to facilitate their participation in nation-building activities. These have included scholarship programs, the creation of the India Development Foundation, the establishment of the Council for Promotion of Overseas Employment and an Overseas Workers Resource Center, and a People of Indian Origin Non-Resident Indians University. In recognition of the importance attached to the role of overseas Indians, a Prime Minister's Global Advisory Council of Persons of Indian Origin has been set up to catalyze ideas for national development. My government has accorded highest priority to fostering close political, economic, social, and cultural relations with all countries on the basis of sovereign equality and mutual respect to help promote a friendly and peaceful external environment. To safeguard our national security and ensure rapid socio-economic development of our people, we have also consistently endeavored to promote a stable and prosperous South Asia in the recognition of the fact that we are bound by strong ties of history, culture, and ethnicity. The conduct of our foreign policy has announced India's stature in the world. My government's foreign policy has been imbued with the values that our nation rests upon, of independence of thought and action, ensuring a democratic, just, and equitable world order and the rule of law. India's views on the major international issues of our times are not just heard, but are now being actively sought. My government worked actively with the international community to address key global challenges of terrorism, energy and food security, climate change and sustainable development, the global economic and financial crisis, and the reform of international institutions, including of the United Nations, to reflect contemporary realities. The conclusion of an India-specific safeguards agreement with the International Atomic Energy Agency and the decision of the Nuclear Suppliers Group in 2008 to allow its members to enter into full civil nuclear cooperation and trade with India in nuclear material and technology marks the beginning of the end of 34 years of nuclear isolation and the technology denial regime that India was being subjected to. This has opened the way for our indigenous nuclear power generation program to be reinforced by additionalities through international civil nuclear energy cooperation, thereby also contributing to the global fight against climate change. The opening of such cooperation with India is a vindication of India's impeccable record on non-proliferation and our long-standing commitment to universal, non-discriminatory and comprehensive nuclear disarmament. India discharged her responsibilities in South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation to promote economic reintegration in our neighborhood. During India's chairmanship of the SAARC and thereafter, several regional initiatives, including the decision to establish the South Asian University in India, were launched, which transforms SAARC from a declaratory to an implementation phase. We consolidated our relations with Afghanistan and remained closely involved with its economic reconstruction and development efforts. We wish to see a stable, pluralistic, and democratic Afghanistan. The terrorist attack on our embassy in Kabul in 2008 was a matter of deep concern and reinforced our determination to fulfill our commitments to the people of Afghanistan. We welcome the return of multi-party democratic politics in Bangladesh and remain committed to working closely with the newly elected government. The visit of the Prime Minister to Bhutan and my own visit to represent India at the coronation of His Majesty Jigme Khesar Wangchuk further consolidated our multifaceted relations with our closest neighbor. India and the Maldives continue to enjoy traditional bonds of friendship and close cooperation. With Myanmar, we have conducted our relations in a manner that reflects our shared history and mutual desire to promote peace and tranquility along the border. Government extended its full support to the people of Nepal in their historic transition to a multi-party democracy, and we wish them all well. We are concerned at the plight of civilians internally displaced in Sri Lanka on account of escalation of the military conflict. We continue to support a negotiated political settlement in Sri Lanka within the framework of an undivided Sri Lanka acceptable to all the communities, including the Tamil community. I would appeal to the government of Sri Lanka and to the Lite to return to the negotiating table. This can be achieved if simultaneously the government of Sri Lanka suspends its military operations and the Lite declares its willingness to lay down arms and to begin talks with the government. Our relations with Pakistan have made considerable progress in 2004, but regrettably, terrorism from Pakistan has eroded the achievements of the bilateral dialogue process and has caused a grave setback to our relations. Despite solemn commitment given by Pakistan at the highest level that it would not allow territory under its control to be used for terrorism in any manner against India, terrorists from Pakistan have continued to attack India. We expect Pakistan to honor the commitments made to us and to take decisive and credible action against all terrorist groups that are based in and operate from its territory. Our relations with the People's Republic of China have witnessed regular high-level exchanges, growing economic and trade ties, increased defense contacts, and enhanced people-to-people exchanges. Our strategic and cooperative partnership with China is progressively acquiring a more regional and international perspective. Both sides are also engaged in efforts at resolving outstanding issues, including the boundary question, through dialogue, while maintaining peace and tranquility in the border areas. The signing of the Agreement of Cooperation on Peaceful Uses of Nuclear Energy with USA was one of the manifestations of the transformation in our relations with the United States of America. Our relations with the USA cover a broad canvas of sectors ranging from science and technology, agriculture, education, health, to trade and investment. We look forward to working with the new administration to mutual benefit in the bilateral field as well as on the major challenges of our time. India's strategic partnership and long-standing relations with Russia have been strengthened and diversified. Russia remains our valued partner in meeting our defense and nuclear energy needs and in the area of science and technology, including cooperation in the field of space. Our interaction with the European Union and other countries in Europe in the fields of defense and security, science and technology, trade and investment, agriculture, culture and education has significantly deepened. Agreements on civil nuclear cooperation were signed with Russia and France, and negotiations to conclude similar agreements with other friendly countries are initiated. Our strategic and global partnership with Japan was consolidated, and our relations are marked by strong mutual desire to harness our complementarities. Our engagements with East Asia was a manifestation of our belief that the 21st century belongs to Asia and that India has a role to play in the Asian resurgence. My visits to Vietnam and Indonesia and India's participation for the first time in the summit meeting of ASEAN countries provided a major impetus to our Look East policy. We paid special attention to the intensification of our traditional and historic relations with the Gulf. The visit of Prime Minister to Oman and Qatar opened new avenues of cooperation in the areas of energy security, investment and welfare of Indians working in the Gulf. Our ties with West Asia were reinforced through the visits of the presidents of Egypt, Syria and the Palestinian Authority. The most tragic loss of lives and acute suffering surrounding the recent incursions into Gaza highlights the urgent need for a comprehensive resolution of the Palestinian issue. We remain steadfast in our support to the Palestinian cause and in our desire to see peace and stability in West Asia. The government worked towards building a contemporary relationship with Iran. The visit by the President of Kazakhstan as the chief guest on our Republic Day symbolized the importance attached by government to our extended neighborhood in Central Asia. My government opened a new chapter in our relations with the great continent of Africa. The first ever India-Africa Forum Summit held in India established a blueprint for our relations with Africa and for future. We will share our resources and technical know-how to assist Africa in its development efforts. My first overseas visit as a president was to Brazil, Mexico, and Chile. Several steps have been taken to tap the vast potential that exists in our relations with Latin America and Caribbean countries. India's participation in the summit meeting of the G20 countries and the hosting of the third IPSA summit and second BIMSTEC summit in India were utilized to forge new and strengthening existing economic linkages at a time of turmoil in the international economic and financial system. Honorable members, the efforts of my government were singularly focused on enhancing the prosperity of our people through the sharing of opportunity. My government believes that its programs for inclusive development have created those opportunities that help share the benefits of progress more equitably. When a child in a remote tribal village has access to a local school that has come up in her habitation with her health care needs to attend to, when her parents do not have to migrate for work but find employment locally through the National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, when they have rights on their land, and when they are empowered to make the government accountable to them for the actions through the right to information, we have moved closer to meeting the goals that Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru flagged for the nation. At the turn of our independence, this clarion call in these very hallowed precincts was that collectively we must act to remove poverty, ignorance, disease, and the inequality of opportunity. Even while acknowledging that the move towards an inclusive society with equal opportunities for all our citizens is still work in progress, on the basis of the record of its performance, it is my government's belief that we have moved much closer to realizing this agenda. My government has steadfastly sought to accelerate the path of growth to enable our youth to access global opportunity. Young India has the power to dream big. Our economic progress has enabled such global aspirations. Our investments in knowledge will get us closer to our goals. Our young people have never been more confident about the future. Let our reach exceed our grasp. Thank you. Jai Hind.
महामहिम, आपने यहाँ अभी संसद के संयुक्त अधिवेशन में अभिभाषण किया है। आपकी अनुमति से मैं अभिभाषण के हिंदी पद के आरंभ और अंत के अंश पढ़ता हूँ। कृपया शेष पढ़ा हुआ मान लिया जाए। माननीय सदस्यगण, आपको और हमारी जनता को मेरी शुभकामनाएं। हम सबकी ओर से प्रधानमंत्री डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह को शुभकामनाएं। हमें इस बात की खुशी है कि आपके स्वास्थ्य में तेज़ी से सुधार हो रहा है। हम कामना करते हैं कि आप जल्द स्वस्थ हों और अपनी अहम जिम्मेदारियों का निर्वहन करते रहें। हमारी सुरक्षा के लिए हम हमेशा सतर्क रहने वाले हमारे सुरक्षा बलों के सदस्यों को मेरे विशेष अभिवादन। हम एक ऐसे संघर्षमय वर्ष से गुजरे हैं जिसने हमारी खुली अर्थव्यवस्था और खुले समाज को चुनौती दी। एक ऐसा वर्ष जिसने सामुदायिक सद्भावना, सहनशीलता, सद्हृदयता, न्याय और शांतिपूर्ण सह अस्तित्व के हमारे शाश्वत सिद्धांतों की अग्नि परीक्षा ली। मेरी सरकार ने वैश्विक अवसरों को युवाओं तक पहुंचाने हेतु विकास की गति को तेज़ करने के लिए लगातार कोशिशें की हैं। युवा भारत ऊंची उड़ान भरने की क्षमता रखता है। हमारी आर्थिक उन्नति ने इस प्रकार की विश्व स्तरीय आकांक्षाओं को संभव बनाया है। ज्ञान के क्षेत्र में निवेश हमें अपनी उद्देश्यों को और करीब ले जाएगा। हमारे युवा भविष्य के बारे में पहले कभी इतने आश्वस्त नहीं थे। आओ हम अपनी पहुंच को अपनी अपेक्षाओं से आगे ले चलें। जय हिंद।
The President, Mrs. Pratibha Devi Singh Patil, has just concluded her address to the joint session of Parliament. Today, the last session of this Lok Sabha also begins. Now, the President will return to the exterior of Parliament House to the northwest portico at gate number 5, from where she'll be escorted by the President's bodyguard back to Rashtrapati Bhavan. The presidential procession now leaving the central hall of Parliament. All the members standing. The procession will soon return to the open area outside. The President, Dr. Pratibha Devi Singh Patil, behind her, Mr. Pranab Mukherjee and Mr. Vayala Ravi. Now emerging out into the open area, carpeted in red and decorated in a tapestry of flowers, almost bringing to a close an occasion that's been conducted with utmost decorum and dignity.
बिल्कुल बहुत ही गौरवमयी और गरिमामयी ये एक कार्य कहलाता है जब राष्ट्रपति दोनों सदनों को एक साथ संबोधित करते हैं। और अब धीरे धीरे गेट नंबर 5 की तरफ जाते हुए महामहिम राष्ट्रपति और उनके साथ हैं उपराष्ट्रपति और राज्यसभा अध्यक्ष मोहम्मद हामिद अंसारी, लोकसभा अध्यक्ष सोमनाथ चटर्जी, विदेश मंत्री प्रणब मुखर्जी, संसदीय कार्य राज्य मंत्री वायलार रवि, लोकसभा और राज्यसभा के महासचिव। बहुत ही एक खूबसूरत दृश्य यहां पर दिखाई देता है जब भी इस तरह के आयोजन होते हैं। लाल कालीन बिछाया जाता है इस लॉन में, हरे और लाल का ये एक बहुत ही खूबसूरत मिश्रण, और ये मौसम जो फूलों का है उसको हम यहां कई बार देख चुके हैं। और अब धीरे धीरे द्वार संख्या 5 की तरफ जाते हुए महामहिम राष्ट्रपति प्रतिभा देवी सिंह पाटिल अपने घुड़सवार अंगरक्षकों के साथ वे राष्ट्रपति भवन की ओर रवाना होंगी। विश्व में प्रजातंत्र का बेमिसाल उदाहरण है भारत, और इसी गौरवमयी प्रजातंत्र का प्रतीक है यह खूबसूरत संसद भवन। हमारा प्रजातंत्र दिनों दिन और समृद्ध हो, इस कामना के साथ मैं प्रदीप शर्मा अपनी साथी कोमल जीवी सिंह के साथ आपको दूरदर्शन स्टूडियो वापस लिए चलता हूं। नमस्कार।